folks, Nathaniel here at Chicago Music Exchange. I'm joined by Daniel Escauriza. How's it going, mate?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Great to see you as well. Now, this is a particularly special video. One of the most special videos we ever do.
Yeah. So this is the third ES-355 ever made.
I'll say that again. The third ES ever made.
Correct. In fact, it's technically a prototype, one of the prototypes. In '58, they shipped 10 of these. That's it. And this is the third one.
I mean, that's absolutely mental to think that. So this is the third one ever made, and it's so early it was a prototype.
Correct. Yep. Some of the things that make it a prototype, and one of the, basically one of the earliest ones made is the finish in '58. Like a lot of Gibsons that had, sunbursts in '58, if you can think of probably some other pretty famous ones.
Yeah.
They all fade, right? But in '58, they faded quickly, and all of them that I've seen, fade to this color. The red just goes away.
Gorgeous stuff.
It really is stunning. I mean, it really is stunning.
It would have looked more so like that.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the difference between that and that.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And if you take off the guard, if you take off the pickups, under all of that, it is bright red.
Bright red.
Yeah.
I mean, the red's gorgeous as well, but I love how it's just, melted away almost.
Yeah.
I mean, what a gorgeous color.
And the thing about this guitar is that it saw a lot of action. I mean, it was played.
Yeah. I mean, look at the neck. I mean, that's,
yeah.
And
the guitar is incredible, but to me, its story, right, is so colorful. The color of the guitar faded, but the color of its story is incredible. I mean, it's truly one of my favorite guitar buying experiences. I bought this from the family that owned it since 1958, basically.
So, I mean, the important thing there is it had one owner for its entire life.
Yep.
And it was, now obviously people are going to spot this, KWH, so Kenny Hough.
Kenny Hough.
I can't remember the W, but yeah.
Yeah, is the name of the player who played this since 1958. When he passed away, basically the family kept it. It was family heirloom for a long time, and when it came time to let it go, we talked for a long time about this, and they decided that we were the right people to carry on its legacy. And we've had it here for years, and we've shared it with many musicians who toured through. Everybody falls in love with this thing. I mean, it's just such a special instrument. It plays, sounds, feels incredible.
I mean, really I've been lucky enough to play some spectacular guitars in my time. This is definitely up there.
It's just one of the coolest experiences dealing with, with a family that decided to sell something like this, which is not an easy, it's a very emotional thing.
Yeah,
it's a very, it's a heavy thing. So I'm honored that we were the people to carry this on for a little while.
Yeah. Now, Kenny himself, obviously he was quite an amazing player, because he used to play with some big names, I believe, back in the day.
Yeah, so let's talk about his history a little bit, his story a little bit from way before that. He started playing guitar as a junior in high school. And
how old's a junior? That's what, 15, something like that, is it? I generally don't know.
Oh, you don't call it, you don't know what a junior in high school is.
We call it secondary school. We've only got 2, we haven't got middle school. But anyway.
Okay. 2 years before graduating high school.
16?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
around 16.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Just say that then, innit?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I should have just said that. But anyway, yeah, so he was 16 when he started playing guitar, roughly. And then after graduating high school, he joined the Navy. And he was on a Navy ship. And one of the service members that was leaving had a guitar. And he was like, here, you can have my guitar. So he ended up with his guitar, and he would play this Gibson acoustic on this ship. And after he got out of the Navy, he kept playing, and he would always think that, he was okay, but he didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, one time while visiting the Grand Ole Opry, he was playing guitar, and one of the head booking agents saw him play.
Oh.
And he was like, hey, you're really good at this. You should play lead with some of the people that play here.
Yeah.
No big deal, by the way. No pressure.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm not good enough to do that. And this booking agent was like, no, yes, you are. You are good enough.
Wow.
So that finally is the moment that it kind of sunk in, and he was like, whoa, okay. And he started playing with the likes of Carl Perkins and Don Gibson and who else?
I think Loretta Lynn.
Loretta Lynn, of course. Yeah, there's. So we're lucky enough that this guitar was documented, and his career was documented. And we have newspaper clippings that show him with Loretta Lynn and some of these people. There's an amazing story, actually. And we'll get to how he acquired this guitar, which is such a great story, and it's on its own. But after years of playing the guitar, so many people tried to buy it off of him. And one of the people that really wanted it, apparently, was Carl Perkins himself, who approached him and was like, I'll give you an entire day's pay and another guitar for this guitar. And he was like, nope, can't do it. So, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to think of where this guitar has been, in what company it's been in.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite an amazing story. He was already known as a picker, as a player, as somebody who was good at this instrument in his community, and all around Ohio, basically, primarily, which is where he was from. And there's a place called Porter's Music, and luckily enough, Andy Nelson, who, by the way, is also an incredible guitarist in his own right, also worked as a clinician and as a salesperson. More as a clinician who would visit dealerships for Gibson, representing Gibson guitars. Yeah. And Andy Nelson had this guitar.
Wow.
And when he went to Porter's Music, he was like, hey, this is kind of a new model that we're not really sure if it's going to work out or not. We're not really sure if it's going to take off.
Yeah.
Do you know any good musicians that we can kind of share this with and get opinions? And they were like, yeah, we definitely know a guy called Kenny. Kenny went in, played the guitar, fell in love with it. Yeah. Absolutely fell in love with it, thought it was incredible. And this is super interesting, by the way. At the time, there's documentation that suggests that this guitar had a trapeze tailpiece.
Oh. Okay.
And so Kenny took the guitar home, really, bonded with it, connected with it, and just wanted the guitar so badly, but he did not have the $800 to buy it at the time. It was just not in the cards for him to own it. So he went back to the store, gave it back, and said, beautiful guitar, can't really afford it, and either way, it's a great guitar, but I would want it to have a Bigsby. I would want some of these things to be different, and so I guess it's not for me. He gets a call a couple of weeks later, and he's like, hey, your guitar is ready. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we did all those changes that you asked. So you can come back and play it, see if you like it more like this. And he was like, okay. Yeah. So we went and played it, loved it the way it was. But again, that was a lot of money at the time, and it was just not a possibility. Yeah. Turns out that his wife realized how much he wanted this guitar. Yeah. She took out a loan from a family member. Yeah. Bought the guitar for him and gave it to him for Christmas.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So wait, technically, in a way, is he responsible for ES's having Bigsby's?
Who knows?
In a strange way, is a little bit, right?
I suppose I'm not going to confirm or deny that, because obviously we don't know for sure.
No,
but he did go back and
there.
He did say, hey, I kind of want this to have a Bigsby. And he ended up with the third ever 355 made, customized for him with a Bigsby. And he absolutely played it literally from his daughter's mouth every single day that he was alive. He absolutely loved this thing.
I'm honored to be able to play this.
I know,
and,
right?
Hopefully I'm doing it justice in his memory.
I'm sure he would be thrilled.
I would have loved to have met him, because I imagine the stories.
Me too. From what I hear, he was just a salt of the earth, absolutely wonderful, super modest, incredibly kind, quiet person, 6'5", towering figure. And one of those guys kind of reminds me of you, one of those people who are like, I'm not that good, and fucking ripping. You're gonna have to edit that, sorry. Absolutely monster on the instrument.
Oh, man.
And you can, this guitar I'm sure was always great, but one thing that makes this guitar great as it is here right now is that it was played every day.
Look.
Yeah.
I love even just along here. Just like little bits of wear and,
everywhere.
It's just a stunning guitar and a privilege to play. I'm honored to be able to play this.
There are a lot of pictures of him with another 355 that is later than this one, from the late 60s, it seems like. And I think that eventually he just kind of decided to retire this guitar because he started realizing, he got it appraised out of nowhere. He was just like, I wonder what this is worth. Yeah. And he got it appraised. And when he found out what it was worth at the time, I think he was just like, okay, maybe I should get another guitar and start traveling with that.
But now, do you roughly know when he got it appraised?
I don't remember exactly when, but it was, I want to say it was already in the 2000s.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, that he got it appraised.
Yeah.
And it was appraised at the time for $80,000 or $85,000.
Okay, wow.
And if I suddenly found out, and I had no idea, if I suddenly found out that this thing that I've been schlepping around on the back of my car to gigs everywhere was worth $85,000, I might be like, maybe I should buy something else and keep this in the case at home.
Put it under the bed for a little bit, Realistically, we're probably never going to see something like this again.
I mean, it's, in fact, look what happens to me right here.
Oh, here we
The
go.
Gibson Shipping Toys
Yeah.
book by Larry Miners.
You're a big fan of that book, aren't
I
you?
am a big fan of that book.
Signed.
This book.
Signed.
Signed, yeah, no big deal. Anyway, on page 22, how many 355s? By the way, are you okay with me saying 355? Did you say 355?
I say 355. That's what we say back home.
Let me ask you something. Back
Yeah.
home, when you're counting things, once you get past, say, 100,
Yeah.
what do you say? Do you say 101 or do you say 101?
101.
You know that movie, 101 Dalmatians?
101 Dalmatians.
So is it 100?
Yeah, we say 101.
101. But
But for guitars,
Yeah.
335.
Why?
355.
I wonder how that started.
I wonder
you know?
why.
Maybe a music store.
Well, I could ask you why you say it the way you do. We could do this all
You still
day.
say it different though, because we're counting 335.
Yeah.
That's true.
This is the Gibson 355.
We're putting a weird thing on it too.
The Gibson 355.
This part of this video is more important than anything else. You should just get rid of everything
just
else.
keep it in.
Yeah. Yeah, so in 1958, Gibson shipped out 10.
Just 10.
355s. Just 10. The following, think about this. The following year, 177. The following year, in 1960, 128. So it's not like they made a ton of these anyway.
No.
It's a very rare guitar, no matter what, really, what year, especially in the late 50s and early 60s. But in 58, 10.
Now, that leads me to ask the question, how did you come about to know that it was the third one ever made?
That's a
'Cause
great
That's got to
question.
be tricky, I imagine.
It is tricky. Fortunately, we have great contacts in the industry. God bless some of the Gibson archivists and good friend of ours. Thank you. There are people out there who have access to documents, ledgers, and who just know their stuff, you know? And,
Yeah, because I'm looking at the number here, so I assume that's how you kind of found out.
Yeah, a couple important things to note though is that in this era, the 3 series instruments had a serial number only in one location, and it was in the label inside.
Yeah, I was looking, there's nothing.
But they also had factory order numbers, which is a number that would be stamped in here. And if you look at that guitar, do you see a stamp anywhere there?
No.
That is one of the key things that suggests that this was a prototype.
Oh.
Because it has a serial number, but it doesn't have a factory order number, which means no one technically ordered this guitar for delivery.
Now that's cool.
It is extremely cool. Yeah, and there are so many little details like that point at that, but that's the main one.
Yeah.
It has a serial. By serial, it is on the ledger books, and on the ledger books, it's unmistakably a 58. We know that in 58 they only shipped 10, so this has to be one of the 10, and by serial number, it lies right at that number 3 mark.
Nice.
Somebody at some point in time said, no, it's the 4th. I think it's, you know, who cares, 3rd or 4th? Like, the point is that it's one of the earliest ever made.
We'll call it the third.
I like calling it the
It's
3rd.
the third.
Yeah.
It's the third one, folks.
Yeah, 3rd.
It's the third ever.
everything on the guitar is original. I consider the Bigsby original, even though technically it was changed for him, but it was changed at the store. Some places I read it was even changed by Gibson. I don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
But if you don't count that, the only thing is the bridge.
Okay.
The bridge, I'm fairly certain came off of he had another 355 that he played that was, I think, 68 or something like it, late 60s one. I think that bridge is off of that guitar. Right. And he may have swapped them when he retired this guitar after finding out how much it's worth. Right. And he swapped bridges because he may have liked the way the other one sounded more or intonated more, who knows. Yeah. But the only thing that is changed is that bridge. Of course, he put the mailbox letters on here with his initials.
Have you played it much yourself?
I have played it. I love this guitar. It is so awesome. Those PAFs are fantastic in this context. You know, these early 3 Series guitars in general, the 335, 345, 355s, were different the first year. The tops were thin. Yeah. And not suggesting that they got worse. They're different, you know. Some people prefer the 59. The neck profile is different. The neck profile changed quite a bit in 60. All the appointments changed in 61. Yeah. But the 58s, there's just something special and different about them. And one of the big things, even the thickness of the body changed a little bit. And they were a little inconsistent on the first year. Another big thing is if you turn it around, it has a widow's peak or a stinger on the back. Right. But if you look, you see that other piece of wood that's a different color right there? There. At first I thought that was a brake repair, a crack repair, which really bummed me out when I first saw the guitar. Yeah. After talking to some people who know a lot more about this than I do, I found out that especially during the prototype era, they would add an additional piece of holly on the back. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe to make the thickness work with the tuners, maybe to add a reinforcement layer, I'm really not sure, but then they would paint the stinger on top of that. Oh. So unless you play the crap out of it and you actually expose it, you'll never know that there's another piece of wood under it. And that is something that they stopped doing afterwards, and there is no longer a piece of holly post this era, like the prototype era of these guitars.
I mean, it's literally like a piece of treasure.
It really is. It's priceless in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Now, it's been here for a while, and we are selling it, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. We,
Don't sell it, please. Keep it here, please.
Yeah. You know, the weird thing about collecting guitars is that, you know, we fall in love with these objects, and but they are tools, and they have to be used. There's no worse thing to do with a guitar than to put it in a vault or hang it on a wall and not use it. Yeah. And we're lucky enough to, we share these instruments with people as they tour through Chicago, and a lot of prominent and great musicians have played these instruments. And word got around, and a well-respected and very prominent producer who played this guitar at one point in time passed the word on to a musician that he was working with. Yeah. That he's friends with, that, hey, that is one of the best guitars of this kind that I've ever played. Yeah. And eventually we just, we decide, okay, it's time for the path of this incredible instrument to continue, Yeah. We gave it a good home for a while. We shared it with some people. We made some great sounds with it. You did some amazing things with it.
I mean, I'm honored to have even touched it, let alone played it. So
I know, and it's time for it to have its next
next home. Exactly. Yeah. Well, gorgeous guitar. We'll never see one like it again, or maybe we will. Unlikely.
If anybody has the second or fourth one out there, let us know. We'd like to buy it.
But yeah, incredible, and thanks for letting me play it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and I'm glad we had our time with it.
Yeah. Come and try this out, because it's not going to last long. It's rock and roll history right here.
It really is.
This time I'm playing the 355.
Yeah.
The original one.
Yep, he is.
That was before the 335. 345 and 355 was 8 guitar T, 355 guitar Ts.
Yes.
And this is number 4.
I bought it from Andy Nelson. He was the one that talked Gibson into making them.
Yeah, and we're gonna do Freight Train.
You gonna take off?